turn these off. It's not so far. I still have time to go around and shake people's hands. I have to see them in the future shaking hands.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, councillors, guests and staff. Welcome to the annual statutory meeting of Council. My name is Jenny McMahon and I'm currently acting CEO and it is unfortunate, our CEO Kelly Grigsby has had some surgery and unfortunately she's unable to be here this evening. Is recuperating and she's doing fine. And that would be, I can assure you, the only thing that would stop her getting to the statutory meeting of this city. So apologies from Kelly, and I will try and do her role here in the chair tonight. So this evening's meeting, item 1 is the appointment by the meeting of the CEO as the temporary chair. As you are aware, or most of you will be aware, the mayoral term ceased at 6 a.m. today, and a temporary chair is to be appointed until the mayor is elected this evening. The temporary chair will preside over the following agenda items: the opening prayer, the re-signing of Councillor Code of Conduct, recognition to the outgoing mayor, term of the mayor, election of the mayor, congratulatory remarks to the mayor and the mayoral response. Councillors, can I now have a mover that Council appoint myself as the temporary chair at this meeting until a mayor is elected? Councillor Khan, and a seconder, Councillor Gibbons. Thank you, councillors. I now put this to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Thank you. That is carried. In the spirit of reconciliation, before we begin the meeting tonight, I acknowledge the peoples of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners of the land on which Wyndham is built, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. I please ask that you stand for the opening prayer. We pray for guidance in the Council's decision-making to achieve the best outcome for the people of Wyndham. Please be seated. Some of you may have seen the notice in the foyer advising that this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the internet. I would like to make you aware that your presence may be recorded this evening. So again, welcome everyone. It really is terrific to see you all here this evening. This is one of the most important meetings held each year at Council, and as always, it's wonderful to welcome everyone in the gallery to join with our councillors for the statutory meeting when we appoint the Mayor and Deputy Mayor of Wyndham City Council for the 2018-2019 term. And if I may, I would particularly like to acknowledge two of our former mayors here with us tonight, former Mayor Peter Ross and former Mayor Bob Fairclough. Welcome and thank you for coming along. Now, item 3 on the agenda this evening is the re-signing of the Councillor Code of Conduct. On February the 7th, 2017, Council resolved to adopt the Councillor Code of Conduct, which addresses the good conduct and governance principles to which councillors are bound. Can I please have a mover for the motion that councillors will re-sign and declare that they will abide by the Councillor Code of Conduct dated the 7th of February 2017? Councillor Kim McElhinney, mover, and seconder, Councillor Aaron Ahn. I now put this to a vote. All those in favour? Thank you. Carried. I will now move to the front, the table here, where we will go through a formal process of each councillor being invited to sign the Councillor Code of Conduct. Councillors, as part of that process tonight, we will need you to speak and confirm your commitment to the Councillor Code of Conduct, and you are asked to sign this in my presence. I will then co-sign the document. I will read out the councillors' names in alphabetical order this evening, so you'll be prepared. So the First councillor this evening to come forward and commit to the Councillor Code of Conduct and sign is Councillor Aaron Ahn.
No pressure.
I, Aaron Ahn, hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, councillor. The second councillor this evening is Councillor Henry Barlow.
I hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for the Wyndham City Council, adopted on the 7th of February 2017, and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor John Gibbons.
I hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for the Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Josh Gilligan.
I, Joshua Luke Gilligan, hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Tony Hooper.
I, Tony Hooper, hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor. I now call upon Councillor Intaj Khan.
I hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council adopted on 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this Code of Conduct.
Thank you, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Heather Marcus.
I hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for the Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Peter Maynard.
I, Peter John Maynard, hereby declare that I have read the Councillor Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council adopted 7th February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Kim McAliney.
I, Kim McAliney, declare that I have read the Council Code of Conduct in detail for Wyndham City Council adopted on the 7th of February 2017 and declare that I will abide by this code. Thank you. Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Councillor. I now call upon Councillor Mia Shaw.
I, Councillor Mia Shaw, hereby declare that I have read the Council Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council, adopted on 7 February 2017, and declare that I will abide by this code.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Walter Villangonzalo. Just from here.
I hereby declare that I have read the Council Code of Conduct for Wyndham City Council, adopted on 7 February 2017, and declare that I will abide by this code.
So that concludes our signing of the Councillor Code of Conduct for this evening. Thank you, councillors. So the next part of the meeting is to recognise the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Peter Maynard. I'd like to ask Councillor Peter Maynard to please come to the front. Councillor Maynard, this medallion is provided in recognition of your service as Mayor over the last 12 months. As I mentioned, our CEO, Kelly Grigsby, was unable to be here tonight, but she has prepared something a little earlier that she asked me to read on her behalf. So, if I may. Yeah. On behalf of the staff and senior leadership team, Peter, I would like to thank you for your leadership over the last 12 months. You are known across the organisation as someone that we can rely on to always be across the projects we are working on. You are always ready to provide valuable input and ensure that the views of the community are always at the heart of what we do. With this year's state election, advocating for the best deal for our current and future residents was a priority, and your involvement in countless meetings with key ministers, shadow ministers and senior advisors meant that we have experienced an unprecedented number of pre-election commitments for our city that we will now focus on bringing to fruition. Your contribution in these meetings and delegations meant that the audience was never left wondering what was required for Wyndham. I would also like to highlight your leadership and contribution on the strategic planning for our refuse disposal facility and participation on a study tour, which saw you lead a delegation to visit world-leading waste-to-energy sites. The tour saw you also engage with operators and civic leaders to understand how these facilities function and the impact on community, which is so important when we consider future use of our own facility. The schedule for the tour was gruelling, and the staff noted your unwavering enthusiasm, eagerness to learn and positive engagement with elected officials, which provided a whole level of insight that would not have been possible without your attendance. Upon your return, your ability to share your learnings with key stakeholders and state and federal representatives has assisted in us progressing our work in this area. And despite your many mayoral commitments, including taking on the growth and transport portfolio at which you excelled, I would also like to acknowledge your ongoing work in your sports development portfolio area. With all the demands on you as the Mayor, you certainly didn't drop the ball. In fact, you continue to provide outstanding leadership and insight into key projects such as the Chirnside Park and Mossfield Reserve redevelopments. Peter, it has been a pleasure working with you throughout your term, and I know I can speak for all the staff in thanking you for your steadfast support, your trust in us, and for working tirelessly to ensure we always put our best foot forward. You should be incredibly proud of all your achievements throughout your term as Mayor, and I'm sure you and Lucy now deserve a well-earned break together.
Something I prepared earlier. So thank you, Jenny, and I know that you're watching, Kelly. So thank you. I know you're watching because you already said you were. The year has certainly gone extremely fast. Will I miss it? Yeah, of course I will. It's a bit like having your finger stuck in a PowerPoint. But what a PowerPoint that it is. This city is absolutely amazing. And certainly my view is that to be an elected council of this city is an honour that few get. And to be the mayor is a privilege. And to those that have come before me and those that will follow after, I thank those that have come before me. And those that come after, I know that they will also, be a passionate advocate for this city. This evening marks the end of my second mayoral term, and I'm so proud of all that we have achieved as a council over the last 12 months. And it is important that we reflect on what we've done over the year. On a number of occasions when we've met, we've actually said to one another that we've actually forgotten some of the things we've done because we do so many different things and things happen at a rate of knots. We actually have to write them down to remember all the things that have happened in this city.
The growth is phenomenal. And, I mean, we all know the rate that we're growing at. In the next 18 years, we'll be bigger than Canberra by about 20%. There's, I think at the last full moon, something like 95 babies being born a week. So this city is growing at a rate of knots. And the staff, and we have certainly very experienced, professional and dedicated staff. And I, for one, personally, I'll speak for myself, believe that they make what I do and myself look good. Because when we go to see state and federal politicians, we go with the facts. Yes, we do complain about what we need to the right people, but we go with the facts. So we are well armed to provide the information to show them what we need. But we also go with the solution. There's very few that do that. So advocacy has been a key area of focus, particularly over the past year. It's no secret that we're a growing community. Of course, this means that we need to provide the infrastructure our city needs, such as roads, parks, community centres and more. But as a council, we can only do so much. We need the assistance and the help of our residents. We need to continue the work we've been doing in terms of advocating to other tiers of government to fund their fair share, whether it's schools, public transport, health, facilities or roads. I believe we've made some real progress in this space, which is evidenced by the number of key announcements lately. As Mayor, I've had the great honour of holding the growth and transport portfolio, and there have been a number of highlights in this space, including the commencements of works on Boundary Road, Forsyth Road, and need I say, Tarneet Road, and more across Wyndham with the Wyndham or the Western Roads upgrades. Another major highlight has been the announcement of works on the state government's Western Roads upgrades. This program will see some of Wyndham's busiest roads widened and upgraded, while a large number of other roads will be maintained and rehabilitated over 20 years. Make no mistake, the Western Roads upgrade has come about because of our advocacy over the many years to alleviate the congestion our residents face every day. Going forward, we need to create more local employment opportunities for our residents. That's why the Werribee City Centre Catalyst site development is so important and will be a game changer for Wyndham. I'm incredibly proud of this work to date. Another key project within the city centre was the redevelopment of Chirnside Park. And I certainly was delighted that this amazing new facility was opened during my term as Mayor. Our new state-of-the-art ground has created many opportunities for our city, with the first AFL women's football game to be played in March next year, and also the AFL JLT pre-season game to be played there as well. A highlight for me this year has been our continued investigation of waste to energy options at the refuge disposal facility. It was my great honour and privilege to represent the city on a tour of a range of different waste management operations across Europe, and I learnt so much about what we should be aiming to achieve. And yes, I did talk rubbish and got totally wasted. So we certainly do have an opportunity to take the lead in how the sector responds to this ongoing challenge. And I was certainly proud to be involved in this. I would like to thank Stephen Thorpe and Simon Clay for their support during this trip, even though they did lose me at a station in Munich. That certainly taught me a thing or three about being able to speak the local language. I eventually found somebody that spoke English. I did. They told me where to go. I would also like to thank our CEO, Kelly Grigsby. I know she didn't want me to say this, but her inspiring leadership, or thank her for her inspiring leadership over the last 12 months. Kelly continues to maintain a customer-first approach and instills the culture across the organisation, and her work in creating a more adaptive and flexible workforce will set us up for the years to come. I would also like to thank the broader executive and senior management team for their ongoing support, not just to me, but all councillors. Wyndham City is a leader in local government, and I've been fortunate to be surrounded by professional council officers that help me do my job well. I would particularly like to acknowledge the staff in the Mayor and Councillor's office who put up with my dad jokes and have certainly done a fantastic job this year. I thank them for always making sure everything is as it should be. It is certainly a tough gig at times. On a personal note, I would like to acknowledge my wife Lucy for all her support this year. She certainly has made sure that I had the time to commit to the role, and I thank her and my whole family for their support. Lastly, but by no means least, I would like to thank my councillor colleagues, for without councillors of the calibre that we have, you know, the leader is only as good as those who they lead. I would certainly like to acknowledge my deputy for the last 12 months, Councillor Villa Gonzalo. Thank you. You've certainly, I've sent you in a lot of places, and you've certainly done an outstanding job, so I do thank you for that. It has certainly been outstanding working with you all for the last 12 months. I will certainly look forward to the next 2 years of this term. I have to say that I've lived with my wife here and my children since 1982. I love the city, I love what it is, I love what it's become, and thank you, it's been an honour.
Now, I just need you to stand here for just a moment more, if we may. I'd now like to invite, well, before we conclude this part of the meeting, I now would like to ask Lucy Maynard to come forward to be presented with a bouquet of flowers in recognition of the role that she has played over the last 12 months and the enormous support provided to the Mayor. On behalf of the organisation and Council, thank you, Lucy, for your ongoing contribution. Thank you. Now, and I would now invite any councillors who would like to make a remark for the outgoing Mayor, Councillor Peter Maynard, to take the opportunity now. Councillor Barlow.
Thank you, Jenny. Peter, what can I say? Oh, this isn't working, is it? I think we should spend a... Hello? We should spend a couple of $1 million and fix up the microphone system here, I think.
That's not serious, by the way.
And we won't have to have a rate rise to do it. However, Peter, I've known you for many years, inside and outside of council. And if there's one thing that you've always shown, whether you were the president of your local football club or as the mayor of this city, is a great deal of passion. And it's a passion, in my view, about your community. I think you've mentioned that. This council looks to the future, and you have, in the last 12 months, continued to work in that space. And you've always been inclusive. In fact, it's amazing how the number of photo shoots we do for the turning of the sod of a new site for a new building, or shaking hands with politicians accepting money, which we've accepted a lot of money over the... In cheques, yes. Not brown paper bags. And you've always been inclusive because you wanted everybody else in the photos as well. It's not just about you receiving the money and shaking hands with the politicians. It's actually you including all of us that are there at the time to be part of that particular thing. I think one of the hardest things of being a mayor is putting aside your own views and opinions, because, and I don't mind saying it publicly, you don't always agree with the direction of the council, or the way we may be doing things. But as a mayor, you have to put that aside, because once the council has made a decision, once that is the council policy or the direction, it's up to the mayor then to drive that message through. And you have done that very well in the last 12 months. I want to say that also, just to finish off, that I'm sure that even though you're no longer the mayor, you will continue to work at the forefront of making this the greatest city in Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Any other councillors would like to say a word? Councillor Shaw?
Thank you. I think Councillor Barlow has summed that up very well. I suppose just from my perspective, I would like to congratulate Peter on another successful 12 months as Mayor, and for your continued support and advice that you've given me, not just since being elected, but certainly over the last 12 months. Congratulations, Peter. Well done.
Thanks, Councillor Shaw. Any other councillors like to say anything? Councillor Gibbons?
Yep.
Michael.
That's what we're doing next. Decent microphone.
Peter, councillors, I'd like to congratulate you, Peter Maynard, on a job well done. You've carried out your responsibilities with distinction and decorum, and at times with a little bit of lightheartedness, although your jokes are becoming a little bit old hat. You've represented this council, its ratepayers and public with respect and decorum, and you have carried yourself well in dealing with the press and in the media generally. You've always been available to consult with me and the other councillors, and for this I thank you. I thank you for your friendship, your counsel, SEL, and wish you well for the future. Wyndham is a dynamic place, serving, growing quickly and representing a challenge to us all. Thank you once again, and thank you for your leadership and guidance.
Thank you, Councillor Gibbons. Is there any other councillor wishing to speak at this point? Yes? Yep. Councillor Hooper?
Thank you. This is, firstly, I'd like to say to Lucy, thank you for sharing this bloke for the past 12 months with us. It's not an easy role on the families, and I've seen from the last two mayors how much it takes away from the families. So I have to say that's an achievement of the family, and thank you so much for that. And Peter, look, it's hard to describe a leader, in simple terms, but I think of you as a man that's in the trenches. We have gone through some real battles over the past 12 months with certain campaigns that we've run, schools for Wyndham in particular, and you have not been afraid to stand shoulder to shoulder with us in that fight. And I think it shows an absolute character to be in there with us doing that at the same time. It shows a love of the community, it shows passion, and I don't think anyone would ever dispute that your passion for this city comes through in everything that you do. It's been a pleasure to work with you, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper. Councillor Khan?
Thank you. I'd like to say that Peter, I have worked with you, it's now 6th year completed. You got elected in 2012, and I've seen how you've grown up in the last 6 years. And it was your first term and my first term. I reflect the past when you became first-time mayor. The one thing I have always observed from you doing a great job, and sometimes we've been agreed on disagree number of occasions and points we work for the community. But one thing I like to say that you really put hard work, and if anybody wants to see his hard work, he always carry that big pile of the paperwork. I'm not sure how he reads it, but he obviously that's a lot of reading and work, and which is just to show that how passion is. And I really admire your leadership, and we had a good time. This year particularly, I'm passionate about the roads and what you just have achieved this year, working with both sides of the politics and getting the road. What we needed, particularly for the Wyndham City Council, was important. And leader is not good enough until unless he gets what community wants. And the community was certainly crying about the roads, and you did achieve the Tarni train station announcement through your, of course, the advocacy, and now that we look forward to see the similar, legacy continue and work closely as a united team. Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Councillor Khan. Thank you, councillors. So, councillors, it's also fitting at this point in the evening to acknowledge the contribution of our outgoing Deputy Mayor, Councillor Walter Villagonzalo. It's the role of the Deputy to support the Mayor in his or her duties and deputise when required, and Councillor Villagonzalo has worked incredibly hard throughout the year. I would now like to invite any councillors to say a few words if they would like to.
Walter, you've had a good year. In fact, it's probably been a great year. And we all know Walter's commitment to the community of Wyndham. It was only a couple of years or so ago that you were the Citizen of the Year and duly rewarded for that. And in your last 12 months as the Deputy Mayor, you've continued to look at what's the best for the community of Wyndham. And so I want to thank you for that, because being a councillor is not an easy gig, let me tell you, and you've done it very well.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Would any other councillor like to say a few words? Councillor Marcus?
I've known Walter for many, many years, and we've worked on many projects together. Walter is a friend to absolutely everyone. Walter is a very committed person. He is a very respectful person, and he has shown what the respect and the trust that he has from his fellow councillors. Walter, I was thinking about you today and I thought, are you going to make the upper house? I was happy, but then I was unhappy to think that we would lose you as a very respected and hard-working councillor for this city. So we still don't know whether you're going to make it or not. If you do, good luck, but we will miss you. Walter goes about his business and he's got very many contacts that he's got out there in the community, and he has worked so hard to bring employment to this city, which is not easy. And as we all know, retail is going out the window, but Walter keeps on keeping on. We are so lucky to have a person like you, Walter, and I'm glad that I'm your friend and you are a person that we can all trust. Walter, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Marcus. Any other councillor wish to say a few words? No? Yes, Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Walter, for you being I would say that, you've done a great job being a Deputy Mayor, and observe that, you've always been passionate about it, whether it's been putting a hand up for the upper house or doing a great work in the community. And as Heather have summed up nicely, you always come across as a friend and as a person. When we say something, you always listen to us. And can I say that, definitely, it shows that, you're passionate about your role and want to work with the community. And I'm glad that, also my other two council colleagues have same passionate, like Councillor Tony Hooper, who put up his hand up for the lower house, and also Councillor Andy, just to demonstrate that how the council are passionate about it. They want to work for the community. And I would say that, it takes it takes a guts to put up a hand and make commitment to the community. Walter, you certainly have done it, and you mean that. Thank you, being a colleague of you. Thank you, Walter.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Any other councillors? Yes, Councillor Gilligan.
I certainly agree with the comments that have been made here tonight, and congratulate Walter on what has been an incredibly productive year, particularly with you as the Deputy. And I think you've demonstrated a sense of loyalty and trust to this council in the way that you've conducted yourself in the last 12 months, particularly in light of the issuing of that letter midway through the term and the, in my view, most egregious act of character assassination that I've seen. You held yourself well, you committed to the role of being a loyal deputy in the mayoral office despite that letter, and you demonstrated to everybody that you've got what it takes in a leadership role, and I commend you for your work over the last 12 months.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. There's no further speaking. We'll move on to item 5 on the agenda, and that is the term of the Mayor. As provided by section 71(2) of the Local Government Act of 1989, Council may elect a Mayor for a term of 1 or 2 years. Could I please have a motion to determine the term of the Mayor? Councillor Khan? So we have a motion there that...
We will now, Councillor, move the motion to this. The Council resolved that the Mayor term fall with a period of 1 year, which is 2018.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor John Gibbons, to second the motion. Sorry, I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. So, councillors, we will now move to item 6 of the agenda this evening, which is, by all counts, probably the most important item for the meeting, and this is the election of the Mayor for 2018-19 year. In conducting this election this evening, I draw your attention to the mayoral election procedure as detailed in the Governance Local Law at Clause 8 and remind councillors. When voting, you must put your hand up clearly in the air. The councillor with a majority of votes cast will be declared elected. If there is an equality of votes, a lot using the ping pong balls will be required. So I now call for nominations for election to the office of the Mayor of Wyndham City Council for the period 2018-19. Councillors, do I have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Mia Shaw.
Councillor John Gibbons to nominate Councillor Mia Shaw. Do I have a seconder for this nomination? Councillor Kim McElhinney, Councillor Kim McElhinney to second Councillor Mia Shaw. Do you, Councillor Mia Shaw, accept the nomination? I do. Councillor Mia Shaw accepts the nomination. Thank you. Councillors, do I have any further nominations? There being no further nominations, I hereby declare Councillor Mia Shaw Mayor of Wyndham City Council for the 2018. I would now like to invite the newly elected Mayor to be robed with the mayoral robe and chain of office, and then we will proceed to the centre table for you to read aloud and sign the mayoral affirmation of office. Once the mayoral affirmation of office is signed, you will continue to chair the remainder of the meeting. Take your time, it's fine.
Technically, you control the meeting.
Cool. Thank you. Come up to the table. So now I'll ask you to read and sign the mayoral affirmation of office.
So I, Councillor Mia Shaw, accept and undertake the duties of Mayor, Wyndham City Council for the agreed term of 1 year commencing this day. I understand that I've been elected by my fellow councillors as the leader of this council and chief advocate for the Wyndham community to take precedence at all municipal proceedings with a commitment to inclusiveness and the support of my fellow councillors. In accepting this responsibility, I will uphold council's values of community focus, commitment, integrity, leadership, respect, teamwork. Further, I subscribe to and pledge my commitment to the role of the Mayor in supporting the Councillor Code of Conduct and the principles of the governing Wyndham framework, including governing for and with the community, promoting collaboration between the Council, its staff and the community, supporting the provision of procedural fairness in decision-making, providing guidance and support to all of my fellow councillors, ensuring respectful conduct and a high standard of debate at council meetings, collaborating with the CEO to support resolutions of disputes internally. In making this undertaking, I call on my fellow councillors to offer me their support and counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take our seats back at the table. So just before I hand over to the Chair for the remainder of the meeting, I would invite you as the new Mayor to say a few words.
I'm prepared. I left them over there. Oh yes, of course. So, thank you. It is, Peter spoke earlier, it is a great honour and privilege to be elected Mayor for the 2018-2019 council year. I am very proud that being elected Mayor continues a local government tradition in my family, on both sides actually. But many will already know that my great-grandfather was the Shire President of this council long before I was born, and I look forward to continuing the commitment he made to this community many years ago. I ran for council in 2016 because I wanted to make a difference in the community that I grew up with, and I believe my track record in the last 2 years has demonstrated that I always put our community, residents and ratepayers first. I will continue to be a tireless campaigner, advocate and spokesperson for the city's needs. I'm an independent and most of the time this may align with the views of senior MPs and ministers, but sometimes it may not. But you can always expect me to always conduct myself constructively in ways that build frank yet strong relationships with decision makers who can make a difference to the funding, programs and services we attract to Wyndham that are in the best interests of our community. I do want to make some comments following Saturday's election, as the results present enormous opportunities and some risk for our city. We achieved many of the things we were advocating for leading up to and during the election, and our task is now to work with the new government, opposition, crossbenchers and bureaucracy to continue to advocate for some of the gaps that still need attention. I'm looking forward to working with everyone to ensure Wyndham's needs are understood and met. Finally, I want to thank my councillor colleagues, and they know who they are, who have supported me since being elected. It is very much appreciated. I want to thank my family, in particular my mum and dad and Auntie Mary, who are here tonight, for the support they've given me and Gus these last 2 years in particular. I could not have done this role without you all. And of course, to my son Gus, who always keeps it pretty real. So councillor staff and to the community, you have my word that I'll contribute creatively, constructively and tirelessly in making sure our community is recognised in the way that it should be. My door is always open. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And just before proceeding, I invite any councillors that would like to congratulate our new Mayor to speak now.
Mayor, you certainly will have the support of this council for the upcoming year. You are right, you have been a tireless worker, one of many in this council, but no one can doubt your passion for this city. So I wish you well in the upcoming 12 months. You'll have my complete support. I look forward to working with you.
Any other councillors?
Thank you. Congratulations, Mayor. It's finally happened. You're now the 6th female mayor of this city, and of over 150 mayors. So it's absolutely wonderful. You've worked tirelessly for this community since you've been elected, and you have my complete support for the next 12 months, as I have continued in the previous 2 years. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McAliney. Councillor Barlow? No? Sorry, you've got the microphone.
Yeah, I just happened to have the microphone in my hand. I was passing it along. But I will say a few words. Great-grandfather, Shire President. I've got a funny feeling that I think my wife's great-grandfather might have been a Shire President too, I think, and they probably knew each other. So it's great to carry on that family tradition of families that have actually lived in the city of or the Shire of Werribee, or the Shire of Wyndham, I think it might have been originally, then Werribee, and then the city of Werribee, and now the city of Wyndham. So congratulations. Kim's right. You're the 6th female either president or mayor of this municipality, and it's well deserved. It's interesting, when we came on council in 2016, we had quite a number of new councillors, and as somebody that's been on council for a number of years beforehand, when new councillors come on board, you watch them, you listen to them, you want to find out what their thoughts are, what their hopes and dreams are for the term coming up. And I must admit, I was very impressed as the mayor when we had that meeting, and I said, who's got who's got an idea on what type of infrastructure we should build? And you had your hand up that quickly, and you became so passionate about parks and gardens and more swings and a better standard of looking after these parks and gardens. And I must admit, your views on that day has led to I won't mention how much money is being spent, but it is, you impressed me because you actually had a plan. You knew exactly what you wanted and you mentioned it. And I think that particular trait is going to help you become a very good mayor in the next 12 months, I'm sure. You've got my phone number. Please don't ring it too often. But I'm there if you need me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barlow. Councillor Hooper?
That's a tough... Is this on? Yep, that's a tough act to follow, because that's half of what I was going to talk about. But look, now, as one of the noobs, to see you rise to the robes is actually awesome. And Henry's right. The Parks program is something that touches on the lives of everyone in this city. So if that's any expectation to go on, we've got high expectations for you as mayor. So it's going to be very interesting to see how you roll out that program over the next 12 months. But I know it's something that's going to be inclusive and that the city will absolutely welcome. And it's going to be great to be part of it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Councillor Hooper. Any further councillors? Councillor Gilligan?
I think it's exciting that we're going to have someone who understands what it's like to be part of a working family. And I think that is going to be so key in the second half of this term, particularly the sorts of projects that we have to prosecute, and of course the new government as well. So I look forward to that, and I know that you will be a very astute leader and someone who will prosecute in every way the sort of things that we're going to need. I think you will be that game changer for this third year. And I look forward to working with you to achieve the sorts of things, not just in Wyndham, but of course also in Chafee Ward. You're the Nick Xenophon of this council in terms of advocating and getting the sort of project outcomes. So there's a lot to be learned from that style of strategy, and ultimately now being the leader, you'll have us knocking on the door for funding in each of our wards too. So look forward to that.
Right. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Councillor Gilligan. So thank you all councillors, and could I please ask you to join with me once again to congratulate our new Mayor, Councillor Mia Shaw.
Thank you. And now we'll get to the next item on the agenda. So Agenda 9, which is the appointment of the Deputy Mayor for the 2018-2019 year. So in accordance with Governance Local Law, we need to resolve to appoint a Deputy Mayor for the 2018-2019 year, as this is not a statutory position and is optional under the Act. Councillors, can I have a mover for the motion as recommended in the meeting agenda, please? Councillor Maynard. Councillors, is there a seconder? Councillor Barlow. I now put this to vote. All those in favour? It's carried. So item 9, appointment of a Deputy Mayor for the 2018-2019 year. I now call for nominations for the election of Deputy Mayor for the 2018-2019 mayoral year. Councillor Hooper.
I'd like to nominate Councillor John Gibbons.
Do I have a seconder for this nomination? Councillor McAliney. Councillor Gibbons, do you accept this nomination? Councillors, do I have any further nominations? Councillor Marcus?
Yes, I would like to nominate Councillor Josh Gilligan.
Thank you, Councillor Marcus. Do I have a seconder for this nomination? Councillor Khan, thank you.
Yes.
Sorry, Councillor Gilligan, do you accept the nomination? I'm getting there. Thank you. You do? Thank you. Councillors, do I have any further nominations? Councillors, we have received 2 nominations for the Deputy Mayor. I will now conduct the election with 2 nominations. All those in favour of first councillor nominated, Councillor Gibbons, please raise your hand. Sorry. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 votes for Councillor Gibbons. Okay. So now that we have a majority declare, I do now therefore declare Councillor John Gibbons Deputy Mayor of Wyndham City Council for the 2018-2019 mayoral term. Would you like to say a few words? Oh, okay. Okay. I would now like to invite any councillors who would like to offer their congratulations to the new Deputy Mayor.
John? Yes. John, congratulations on being elected Deputy Mayor for 18-19. Certainly have experience, and I know you'll provide great support to our newly elected Mayor. So you certainly have my support for the year. Thank you.
John, or Gibbo as I call you. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this may be your first time as a deputy. You've held the honours in 2 types of councils before, as a mayor and Shire president, and this is your first time as a deputy mayor. So since 1979. So congratulations, and I'm sure you're going to be a great wingman for our mayor, because Mayor Shaw, Councillor Gibbons has got many years of experience in how local government works, and I must admit he's going to be there when you need him. I'm sure of that, and to provide sage advice. You may not both agree at the same time, but we'll provide sage advice. So I congratulate you, John, on becoming the deputy mayor, and I look forward to seeing you both working together. Thank you.
I'm going to go with Gibbo as well. Look, as a new councillor, you tend to look at the old guard to see how they act and to learn. Well, 79, that's a bit of a big innings. And look, from what I've seen, your calm, rational approach to this role is something that everyone should cherish and welcome. At times it can get heated, at times it can be rather emotional. But exactly right. Throughout the whole process, your calmness and ability to look at things with a steady hand, I think, is something that should be absolutely brought forward in this council in a way that the deputy mayor role will certainly have. So thank you so much for accepting the nomination.
Very good.
Congratulations, John, and I think John is someone, always that observes and, guidance. It's been like since we've been working, and you've been more than before me. So I'm very happy now that you took the role as a deputy, and certainly you have a time to do. But also at the same time, what a democracy now. I also congratulate to Josh Gilligan, which is have a passionate, and this is just not that who loses, who wins, is about how 2 good guys can be passionate about the same role. So we wish to both of you to work together. And can I say, Josh Gilligan is my Labour comrade, and I think what you have done today, I'm proud of you, and I wish to working with you in the unity form, and we'll definitely, John, you and my support will support you bottom of heart. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, finally, I just wanted to say congratulations, John, on your appointment. And as you know, I'm very much looking forward to working you over these next 12 months.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah, thank you, John. Okay, the next item on the agenda is item 10, councillor appointments to advisory committees. There are a number of committees which require councillor representation. A list of the committees has been circulated as part of the agenda for this meeting. Councillors, can I have a mover as detailed in the agenda for this meeting for this item, please? Councillor Hooper. Councillors, is there a seconder? Councillor Villagonzalo. I now put this to the vote. All those in favour? The motion is carried. And finally, item 11, close of the meeting. As there are no further items for tonight, I declare the meeting closed at 8:03 p.m. Thank you for your attendance this evening, and I do invite everyone to stay and enjoy some refreshments with us. Thank you.